The Ice Queen returns, my utmost favorite monster from Monster Hunter World. She is an absolute treasure of a hunt. So welcome back to the Evasion series, a reminder that these videos are for everyone, but especially for new players. So if you have new friends to the game, be sure to send them this video. And I hope that this video can help you tackle or improve your hunts against Velkhana. So we're going to start this video with a description of her main mechanic, then I'll discuss her new complicated combo, and then I'll break down all the other attacks. So over the course of the fight, Velkhana will frequently cover herself in ice. Your goal is to break the ice cloak off her body. If you break enough ice or do enough damage to the head, you can get a topple and break her entire ice cloak. This opens a window for you to damage her, this stops her in rage mode, and it reduces the chance of her using her ultimate attack. If you aren't successful with this though, Velkhana has another ultimate move which consumes all the energy in her ice cloak. This attack starts by her getting up on her hind legs and shooting a laser straight at the ground in front of her for about a second, and then she continues straight into a 360-degree laser spin. As she finishes the spin, she launches into the air and does the same animation of an ice ring attack that I'll discuss later on. Only this time, there are 4 special blue ice rings. They appear one at a time, but at a much quicker pace than the original. So there are 2 parts to dodging this attack. Part 1 is the laser. You can block with the shield or you can counter it, but if you need to dodge, you need to get under Velkhana for the laser spin. Under her forearms are the safest spot. Part 2 is when the rings appear. You will need to roll into the breaking ice before the next ring appears and breaks behind you. If you perform this correctly, you will be at her head when she lands and you can get some damage. You don't have too big of a window though. This attack doesn't make her lose her enraged status, she just uses all the energy from the cloak, but she can still be enraged without the cloak and will probably just go into another attack. So that's her main mechanic and your main goal for most of the HUD. Next up, let's talk about her new combo, the Lunge Whip. Really majestic attack honestly, she will lunge forward trying to bite you. Whether she's successful or not, she immediately goes into a 180 tail swipe attack. As she ends the whip, she'll leap back and generally speaking will follow up with a long range ice pan laser attack. Now I'll discuss the pan laser attack later, but let's look at the Lunge Whip. The clearest indicator of the Lunge Whip is in her hands and head. She will hang her hands as she stands on her hind legs, and as she stands, she will tilt her head and body just a bit. This is a clear indicator that it's not a normal bite attack because she doesn't raise her body for normal bite attacks. The attack will come at you quick and retract really quick into the tail whip. Your goal is to get past her arms onto her sides. If you are close enough to her head level, a single roll towards her head should clear you right as soon as she starts the tail whip. Either side will work. So this requires a little bit more quick thinking and not exactly the normal reactions compared to most other monsters. As she comes in for the bite, you gotta get on the side and roll towards her. The tail whip will hit everything in front of her, so once you are on the sides of her arm, you're safe. However, the combo doesn't end there. You gotta continue rolling forward because she's gonna take a leap back to her original spot and then do the pan laser attack. And the safest areas for that attack are yet again her arms. Now of course you can also counter this laser attack since it is the final attack in the combo, or you can block everything with it if you have a shield. So a little bit more of a reactive evasion for this attack than most other attacks that you'll see in this video. But I really found this combo to be really cool and I'm glad they added it. So from here on in the video, I'll discuss the ground attacks of Velkhana and then her aerial attacks. Like most monsters, Velkhana also has a running forward and a bite attack. The running forward just when she runs in a straight line just to hit you. Like most monsters, her body is going to become a whole hitbox and you really just need to step to the sides, stay away from directly in front of her. For the bite attack, she actually does raise her head a little bit and open her mouth, but the biggest indicator for you is that she actually likes to hop around to get a different angle before biting you. So you should just really be aware and keep moving. Make it a habit to roll whenever she hops. More often than not, she's going to try and get to your blind spot and then try to bite you to kind of stun you or slow you down. Next up, let's talk about her ice laser beams. There are 3 ground laser beams that Velkhana has now. The first one is a single long laser that typically occurs when Velkhana is not enraged. So if you're aware of her enraged state, you can go straight in to get some damage on the head while she shoots this attack. The biggest indicators for this laser attack is that there will be a frost cloud that appears in her mouth. She will look down a little bit and her wings will sort of shrivel up. You simply need to move to the side, or if you're close enough, you can counter the attack since it is a single hit attack and the rest of the laser will not phase you. When she's enraged, she changes this into 2 shorter laser attacks, and she will change positions to kind of track you between each one. So her position locks as she stops the first laser. So your goal is to really just keep moving to the side until she starts that second laser, and then you're clear to go in and attack the head. The final ground laser attack is slightly different. The pan laser is where she actually shoots a laser from left to right. Now the indicator for this is very clear. She will gather ice in her mouth as she stands on her back hind legs. But there's not much of a delay here. The moment she reaches peak height, you have less than a second until she drops down and then starts shooting from the left and pans over to the right. So depending on your position, your goal is to kind of get past her head, get to the side of her arms, either on the far left or just keep moving to the right, depending on your position. If you aren't close enough to Velk though, you can do one of 4 things. If you're far enough away, you can move back out of the laser range. If you're kind of in the middle, run backwards and dolphin dive as the attack pans over you. If you have a shield, you can block it. Or finally, you can also just counter the attack since it's a single hit attack. If she's enraged, however, the indicator will change. It'll be a very similar motion, but she'll do a more exaggerated head shake, and she'll raise her head in a circle from right up to the left before shooting the laser. So this one kind of gives you a little bit more time to realize the attack is coming, but it also hurts a little bit more and it lasts a little bit longer, so it covers a little bit more area. But again, not as far as her arms. Next up, we have the Ice Breath, a very short ranged attack. It's basically for Velkhana to clear the area around her feet, so that she doesn't do this quite often. This Ice Breath has similar indicators as the Pan Laser, as she has Frost Breath, she looks down and raises her head. The main difference is actually a sound indicator. With the Pan Laser, she doesn't make much sound audio when she raises herself, a little bit more when she's enraged, not a lot when she isn't enraged. But with the Ice Breath, there is a deep sucking sound that is very distinct. So if you hear this, pay attention to which side her head moves to. The side she will freeze is the direction her head faces, so it's the opposite side of the way her body tilts. For dodging, you really just need to get out of this zone. Like, just don't be near it. It'll slow down your movement if you are, so just try to get out of it, try to avoid it. If you have a shield, again, you can block it and counter this attack. Next up is the classic Velkhana move for anyone who's played World, the ground tailspin. Pretty neat attack where Velkhana will stab the ground for a moment, then spin herself, dragging her tail through the ground and hit anything in a 300-degree spin. Now this can be performed both from the ground or while she's in the air. Dodging this attack is actually quite simple since the tail and hind legs are the only hitboxes. The safest spot is to get under her head or chest. That way you can get some damage while she spins and then after she resets herself. If you can't get close enough to her body, you either have to roll away from the tail or you have to counter the tail attack. Now there is a special version of this, however, compared to World Velk. Not a very high occurrence from what I've seen though, so it's just something to be aware of. She will start the same by like stabbing the ground, but the difference is she'll do a fancy wave with her tail before stabbing the ground. Then she'll hold the tail in the ground. This hold is longer than the original and it's the indicator that tells you that she'll do the special version. After the long hold, she will do almost a double spin and rise into the air and then immediately shoot an ice laser onto the ground at you. So you'll need to kind of keep moving to be safe from this attack, but generally speaking, underneath her is the safest spot. If you can get under her before she spins, you're clear from the tail attack and the laser attack. And then again, you'll have some time to damage her after she drops back down. She's going to take a moment to reset. Next, we have Velkhana's most common attack, the ground tail stabs. Now she'll basically turn her head to look towards her tail and she'll position herself that you are in between her head and tail, and then she'll try to stab you with the tail. If she's not enraged, she might try to just do the same tail spin that we just talked about previously to try and end the combo. If she is enraged, this actually becomes a 3-step attack. The second attack is the same tail stab. She's going to try and hop, reposition herself that you are between her head and tail again, and then try to stab you again. The third attack depends on your position. If you're far away at this point, she'll try to do a laser beam. If you're close enough, she can either do a tail ground spin, she can jump into the air and do an aerial tail jab, or she will just do another third ground tail stab. So she has a couple of options here to exercise, and she will mix it up. If she hits you though with the first tail stab, this attack can change when she's enraged, and she'll do a different second attack, either a tail spin or a laser depending where you land. It's kind of her trying to finish you off since the tail stab will knock you over already. And now we finally reach one of my favorite moves. The classic attack of Velkhana is the Ice Ring attack. Now if you saw the start of the video, I talked about her ultimate form of this, but this is the original. She'll leap into the air and breathe into the ground for about 2 seconds. The ice rings will grow out of the ground for about half a second before breaking. Now these have very narrow hitboxes, but you still can't be near them at the moment of the explosion. The moment they shatter though, they become safe. So while the easy way to dodge this attack is to just roll out and away, a more efficient method to dodge this attack is actually to stand near the second or third ring and wait for the previous ring to explode. Then you quickly roll inward before the next ring explodes. Now technically speaking, you can do this between ring 1 and 2. I've done it, it's possible, but between ring 2 and 3 is technically much more safer and consistent. The delay between ring 2 and 3 exploding is a little bit bigger, so it gives you enough time to roll inward, and then you can get some damage on Velkhana as she's gonna land and reset herself. So I would practice first learning between 2 and 3, and then learn 1 and 2, because if you can dodge during the first 2 ring explosions, it gives you more time to damage because she doesn't move until the end of the animation. One thing I do want to note here is that if she is not enraged, you don't even need to worry about dodge rolling. Her head will actually stick out of the second ring, and there's only 2 rings, so you can just position yourself to get some damage right away. Up next, we have the Spike attack, which is a slower attack. The indicators to look for are when Velk takes a step back and flaps her wings forward to spread frost clouds forward. Now the step back is a clear indication of this attack. The frost clouds are also your indication that the ground is about to have some ice bursts that will shortly follow. About half a second after, she's going to spread her wings and blow straight into the frost clouds, and the ice spikes are going to appear from the ground and propagate all throughout in a straight line. So dodging this is quite simple. If you can notice the frost clouds on the ground, just get clear of them. Clear to the side of them. If you can clear this, then you can make your way to the side of her head and wait for the first ice block to break. Once it does, you are clear to attack the head while the other ice blocks continue to form and break. Now we've talked about quite a few attacks already, and a lot of these attacks will actually lay down some trap cards. The ice walls are like a trap card for Velkhana. Following various attacks like the ground tail stab or the ice breath attack, there will be remnant frost clouds. These frost clouds will stay there until Velkhana uses an ice laser attack and hits them. If they get hit, an ice wall is going to appear pretty much like adjacent, like 90 degrees to the laser that hits them. So it's really just something that you gotta be more aware of your surroundings for, and basically don't stand next to a laser and a frost cloud at the same time, because that wall is going to extend sideways from the laser and hit you. Now, one of the last ground attacks here, the tail jab. This is a very simple attack. Velkhana will take a step towards you and then do a quick 360 jump backwards. It's a very majestic jump, but the way she jumps is your indicator that she's going to stab her tail on the exact spot that she stepped towards. So dodging this attack isn't too bad as long as you are aware of her jump. The direction she spins while jumping indicates the tail is going to come from the opposite side. So if she flips backwards to the left, she will do a complete spin with her tail being the last part that swings and stab you from the right side. So you can counter or block this attack as well, since it's a single hit attack. Now let's talk about some strictly aerial attacks of Velkhana. The tail jab being one of them. We just talked about the ground one, let's talk about the aerial one. This is where she will jump into the air and kind of hover and then strike you with the tail from underneath her. Indeed, it is a pretty sneaky attack with a very narrow hitbox. Rolling or hopping to the left or right are the easiest ways to dodge this. You could also counter and shield block since there's no follow-up. However, there aren't a lot of indicators for this attack, and it's extremely quick, so any weapon that has a long counter will not do well against this. So my recommendation is anytime Velkhana lifts herself into the air with a normal leap, just make it a habit to roll or hop to a side. I do specifically mean a normal leap. If she does a spin to fly into the air, it's never going to be this tail attack. Now once Velkhana is in the air, she doesn't stay there for longer than 2 attacks. Now I've already mentioned that she can do the ground tail spin attack or the ice rings, which require a hop into the air. She can also follow up the tail jab with another tail jab. She's known to do 2 in a row. And if you are quite some distance from her, she can also fly over to you and land on you, which is very similar to if she were to run towards you, so her whole body becomes the hitbox. And sometimes there won't be a second attack, she'll just land. So if you see her start to land, that's when you know it's safe and you can go ahead, move in and get some damage. Now in terms of aerial laser attacks, Velkhana has 2. We can say one is vertical and the other is horizontal. The main indicator for the vertical one is that there'll be a frost cloud that forms in her mouth. She'll tuck her head in a little bit before releasing the laser. Now typically this attack starts in front of her and then she'll laser the ground across below her feet to the opposite side. So again, a very counterable attack. Yes, you can block it with the shield too, and if you want to dodge, just roll to the side. Move to the side, you don't even need to roll, you can walk. She sets a clear location of this attack very early on, so like as soon as you hear her roar in the air, you have plenty of time to move to the side. The second horizontal attack, so to say, is a newer attack where she raises her head into the sky as she gathers frost, and then she spins down the laser across her front, almost in a horizontal line. This one is again kind of to clear the line or the area in front of her, so it's safe to be below her if that's where you want to be, and then you can wait for her to land to get some damage. Now I've noticed that this attack actually typically starts more from the ground. She can do it from the air, but it's a lot more common for her to start from the ground, do a spin into the air and look up into the sky. That's pretty much your main indicator. There's no other attack that she looks directly into the sky. And then she just kind of spins down and lasers right in front of her. Another aerial attack is the spread of ice walls. Now Velkhana will jump backwards into the air with an extremely dramatic and majestic jump. Like, I'm not even kidding, this is some spinny show-off stuff. That's the only indicator that you need for this attack. Once she's in the air, she'll be backed up and she'll spread her frost breath in a cone shape in front of herself. And magically, 4 walls of ice will appear from the ground outwards from where she is. Now those walls will hurt, but since she has such a clear indicator, it's actually fairly easy to avoid this attack just by not engaging with her until the walls appear. If you want to be a little bit more risky, you can move closer, but you'll have to be very quick to move when the walls are just emerging. A better option would be to get close up and counter the ice walls. Now she won't move for about 2 seconds after this attack, so if you can counter a wall, you have a big window of opportunity to damage. Now one of the final aerial moves is the ice burst attack. This one, I call it this because Velkhana basically magically makes ice burst from the ground beneath your feet. This is Velk's aerial ranged attack. The indicator to look for is that she will flap her wing while she leaps into the air and then start breathing frost air towards you. A frost cloud will form beneath your feet and you have about 1 second before the ice block will burst from the ground. Now it's a very quick attack, so again you have to be aware at all times when she's in the air. The most important part of this attack is you have to remember to not dodge left or right. When she's enraged, this attack can actually go from a single burst to a 3 burst, where a block will appear on the left and right of the first block. So basically you want to dodge forward or backwards away from Velkhana, but never to the sides. This is a hard habit to break. Honestly, I'm not good at this one too. I always get hit by this attack. You can definitely guard this attack. Countering can be a little bit dangerous just because if you're too close to the side blocks, you might get hit by the follow-up. Finally, we reach the ultimate ice explosion. A very cool ultimate and very fitting for Velkhana. Velkhana will spin into the air and gather a lot of frost around her, and you'll actually see it fuming around her. She'll roar into the air for about a second and then leap into the air and roar out even more, releasing sort of a freeze pulse. It'll kind of just shake your screen for a moment. And then she'll spin in a circle in the air and blast out cold air, which will cause blue frozen ice to appear from the ground and shatter moments later. They're pretty spontaneous aside from the 2 below her tail. These are meant to kind of slow you down / block you from moving too much until she breathes out a blast of frost in front of her for about 2 seconds, which then causes a great explosion of ice. So this ice explosion actually always occurs in front of Velkhana. So the safe zone, yet again, you guessed it, is right under her. Those ice blocks that appear on the ground are the most dangerous, and they will try to stop you from getting to the safe zone, and if you get hit, it will push you back towards the great explosion. If you get hit by any of these aside from maybe the first one, do not wirebug. That's the trap. If you wirebug, the explosion will kill you, but if you get hit while she is lasering the ground, just wait out the animation. You will be invulnerable and you'll be able to get up without getting damaged. If you are able to get under her, that's your chance to get as much damage as you can on the body parts that you haven't broken the ice cloak. This attack can only occur when she has the ice cloak, so the faster you break those parts, the better chance you'll have to avoid another ultimate explosion. And that's about it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the summary and breakdown of Velkhana. I really hope this helps you guys out, and if it did, please, it would mean a lot if you could like the video, share it out to your friends, or consider subscribing for more. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, take care, stay safe, and keep hunting. Sky Sensei is out.